Texas Governor Greg Abbott now joins us. And sir, good morning to you. Specific question. Has the state of Texas asked whether or not they could talk to these migrants to get more information from them as to whether or not they've been subjected to traffickers along the way?
I have. So I made a direct plea to the Biden administration a couple of days ago for Texas and our professionals in this state that deal with human trafficking all the time to have access to these minors who have come across the border to learn more about how they were trafficked here. And then we received word yesterday from the Biden administration that they would allow no such thing because they want to continue the cover-up that you've been talking about. There are two things that the Biden administration is trying to hide from the American public. One is the massive number of people who are coming across the border and the Biden administration's lack of preparation to deal with this massive number. The second thing they want to hide is this, and that is that with every person coming across the border, it empowers and it enriches the drug cartels who are involved in every single person coming across the border, including these young children. These young children coming across the border are victims of human trafficking. Somebody has to get to the bottom of it. That's exactly what I wanted to do, not only as governor, but with our professionals in the state of Texas who deal with human trafficking all the time, learn about who trafficked these kids into the state, who in the state of Texas is involved in this so that we can go out and arrest them and stop this human trafficking. This is a crisis that's being made worse by the fact that the Biden administration is subjecting even more children to coming to Texas or coming across our border who are going to be victimized by these cartels and the cartel gang members who could harm these children along the way.
Just to be clear, they could be subjected to sex crimes. And
absolutely,
if you as the governor of the state want to look into that, you can't find that out and help them.
Exactly. So every day in our office, we have a child sex trafficking office in the governor's office in the state of Texas. We also have human trafficking operations in the attorney general's office that crack down on crimes like this in the state of Texas all the time. These professionals are being denied the ability to crack down on the human trafficking that these children are being subjected to on the trek to the United States.
And they're being tracked once they get here. I also wanted to ask you about this because we are in the middle of a pandemic, and Secretary Mayorkas yesterday at a hearing basically said they have released migrants into the country that have COVID. Watch.
There were times earlier when individuals were apprehended and we sought to expel them, and we were unable to expel them, and we were compelled to release them, and we did not have the opportunity to test them. We have addressed that situation.
Have they addressed the situation, sir?
They have begun to. However, Dana, this is another cover-up and try to cast the blame elsewhere by the Biden administration. If you kind of go back 1 and 2 weeks ago, the Biden administration made it sound like it was my fault as the governor of Texas that these children and the other people coming across the border were not being tested. And I said it is the Biden administration's responsibility to do this. Now Mayorkas and other Biden administration officials are acknowledging the fact that there are people coming across the border who are being released. And remember this, one of the greatest challenges we're facing with regard to the pandemic right now are all these different variants. One of the variants is coming from Brazil. There are others coming from elsewhere. We need to know exactly which countries all of these people are coming from, what variants they may have been exposed to, how many people are testing positive who are coming across the border. We've tried to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the state of Texas. Now the Biden administration is importing more COVID into the U.S. that they could be keeping out if they were securing the border.
To be clear, Governor, the Biden administration did not like the policies on behalf of the Trump administration, so they changed them starting on the inauguration day, and they did it in the middle of a pandemic. Does that make sense to you?
It's a total disaster. It would be a disaster anytime, but during the time of a worldwide pandemic, and Bill, remember that one of the worst countries in the world for the spread of COVID, one of the so-called red zones and hot zones, is Mexico. So many of these people are not from Mexico, but they travel through Mexico, and they would be exposed to COVID in Mexico. And so what the Biden administration is doing is, on the one hand, trying to solve the pandemic in the United States, but on the other hand, import more of the pandemic into our country. That is reprehensible. And I will add, they are not stepping up and providing either the COVID vaccine test, which now they are saying they're beginning to do, but also think of all the people that these people who just come across the border have exposed themselves to, and those people need access to vaccines immediately, and the Biden administration is not stepping up providing those vaccines.
Understood. Governor, thank you for your
Governor.
time today. We're in touch with you throughout the day and the weeks to come, unfortunately.
Thank you, Bill.
Greg Abbott, thank you for that.